Hello, my name is Joe Blunenberg, coming to you from the study room outside of my dorm. For my CSM 2205 research project, I decided to do various types of cranes and their usage and size. Now, first up, we have a carry deck crane. Carry deck cranes are perfect because of their low profile. They can maneuver through tricky spots and tight areas. Now, these cranes can weigh as little as 5,000 pounds, and because of this, they are ideal for maneuvering through tight spaces. Up next, we have a crawler crane. Crawler cranes are similar, but unlike carry deck cranes, they are mounted on tracks and not wheels. Now, because of the fact that they are mounted on tracks and not wheels, and these tracks are very wide, a large square base is given to these crawler cranes. Therefore, they are extremely stable and do not rely on outriggers like other cranes do. These cranes also have a carry capacity of up to 660 metric tons, which is the equivalent of about 1.4 million pounds. Pretty incredible. And next, we have a floating crane. Now, floating cranes are interesting, and I have actually never seen one of these before in person. In fact, before researching this project, I didn't even know that they existed. But I think they're really cool. Now, crawler cranes are interesting because of their carry capacity, but floating cranes take that carry capacity up to 11, with a carry capacity of approximately 3,600 tons. And in fact, in this picture here, we can see this floating crane carrying a barge that is currently under construction. It's pretty interesting. I would love to see one of these in person one day. Up next, we have a rough terrain crane. Similar to the carry deck crane, these are wheel mounted. However, unlike the carry deck crane, these can traverse extremely rough terrain, not necessarily tight spaces. Because of their extremely large wheels, they can go over pretty much any surface. However, their stability takes a hit because of their base being wheels and not tracks, such as crawler cranes have. However, these are extremely important in bad weather conditions, icy conditions, and muddy conditions. Up next, we have a boom truck. I would argue that these are actually the most mobile cranes out there because of the fact that they are essentially just a flatbed truck with a crane attachment. Now, because of this, these are actually road-worthy, which is a major distinction from many of the other cranes. Up next, we have an overhead crane. Overhead cranes are great because of their extreme efficiency in moving large objects. Now, in this picture here, we can see that this overhead crane is actually transporting a forklift which appears to be damaged. And this crane can take care of this job much easier than manpower or ground-operated machines could ever dream of. Overhead cranes are also commonly seen in shipping yards loading and unloading freight ships full of the 20-foot long containers that we all know. Another one that I found interesting, similar to the floating crane, is the bulk handling crane. Now, a major distinction of these is that they are actually not operated, they are actually not hook machines. In fact, instead of a hook, they have a two-piece bucket, often called a shell bucket or a grab bucket. Now, these machines work through a system of pulleys and can grab serious amounts of iron ore, mineral ore, copper ore, and the like. Now, these are used pretty often around the Great Lakes, as the Great Lakes is a major shipping hub for all of these different types of ore. And I would also love to see one of these in person one day. In fact, these are actually similar to excavators, simply because of their huge bucket and ability to ship massive piles of material at one time. Now, up next, we have a hammerhead crane. Now, hammerhead cranes are very similar to tower cranes, which we will see on the next slide, but hammerhead cranes have one major distinction in that they can transport their load horizontally with no change to vertical level. Now, this is awesome when we're trying to move an object that requires being level in order to maintain structural integrity. And here we have our last crane, which is a tower crane. Now, tower cranes are extremely common In fact, if you were to take a walk around OSU, I guarantee that you could find about 4 or 5 of them. There is a lot of construction going on right now, and most of the cranes in use in those construction sites are tower cranes. Now, tower cranes are great because a lot of them have an extremely small base, but an extremely long reach. Now, what that means is, despite the fact that many of them are anchored in using a concrete slab at the bottom of the machine, they have extremely long booms that can rotate 360 degrees. So despite their small base, they have an extremely long range of areas that they can reach, as well as an extreme capability of height difference. These tower cranes are capable of lifting materials that are very heavy, very high. And lastly, these cranes are also sometimes attached to the sides of existing buildings for increased stability. So that's what makes these cranes so common, is the fact that they're so stable, can reach so high, can reach so far, and can carry such heavy loads. So that's all the cranes I have for this research project. Thank you very much.